On the high plains during the 1930s, severe drought turned topsoil to dust. Strong winds then battered the region with that dust for years. Nebraska was not spared. Crops failed, livestock died, and families across the state suffered. At the University of Nebraska, the budget barely covered annual expenses. Much of the state's population wanted that budget cut further so that those funds could go toward Dust Bowl relief. University Chancellor Edgar A. Burnett proactively reduced the faculty's salaries in hopes of staving off more severe cuts from Nebraska's legislature. It didn't work. In spite of students and editorial boards coming to its defense, the legislature cut the university's budget by more than $1 million. The university survived, intact but impoverished. Faculty salaries were cut even further, while part of the university hospital and university-backed ag stations across the state were all closed. Even before the Great Depression found its way to the steps and budget of the university, Chancellor Burnett had contemplated the creation of a foundation when the university received an estate gift from Charles Morrill. Burnett began talking to private citizens, asking them to invest in the state's higher education, what he called an investment in the Greater Commonwealth. At the time, the University of Nebraska had educated students for nearly 70 years. But Burnett had seen the Great Depression ravage the state's coffers, and he realized his beloved institution could no longer survive on state funding alone. On June 3, 1936, his dream was realized when 30 prominent citizens signed articles of incorporation that created the University of Nebraska Foundation. The foundation was an all-volunteer organization for several years until it hired its first employee in 1943, Perry W. Branch. Over the next few decades, the university and foundation grew together. In 1968, the state legislature passed a bill that created a single university with 3 campuses: the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, the University of Nebraska-Omaha, and the University of Nebraska Medical Center. 23 years later, in 1991, Kearney State College joined the system, becoming the University of Nebraska at Kearney. The Kearney State College Foundation then merged with the University of Nebraska Foundation. Edgar Burnett and Perry Branch would no longer recognize the organization they helped establish, but we think they'd be proud of the foundation they laid. Today, the University of Nebraska Foundation has more than 200 employees and an endowment that ranks among the top 25 public universities. It also transfers around $200 million to the University of Nebraska every year. None of this would be possible if it weren't for the hard work and dedication of the foundation's staff, board of directors, and trustees, not to mention the thousands of people every year who make a gift. Together, we continue Chancellor Burnett's vision of advancing Nebraska's greater Commonwealth.